All right, thank you. We're going to talk today about insights and how you get to impact. So as I mentioned, I'm Mike Kowal. Anne-Marie will be coming up a little bit later. Just to introduce myself, I'm the VP of Advertiser Development at CJ over the East Coast. I worked with many of you at a different advertiser affiliate network 5 years ago. I wanted to talk today about this because this is really why I left originally and why I came back to CJ. So I left the other network because at some point as a marketer, you want to talk about customers. You want to talk about the insights that you're able to derive from those customer insights. And a lot of times in affiliate marketing, we forget about the customer. We talk about clicks, we talk about links, we talk about publishers like there's some sort of broad network. But as a network, sometimes we get away from the customer. And so what I want to talk about today is getting into how do you get to that next level. So a lot of times people talk about insights, and really broadly speaking, you look at insights and they're talked about as a, we have systems that provide insights. And sometimes they're just graphs, sometimes they're just data. And so as an insight, what I really wanted to get to today, and what Anne-Marie's going to talk about, is how they redid their organization to really focus on the consumer. And then also from an insight perspective, how do you get to that aha moment? And as an old analyst, that's really what I like, is when you get to something and you pull that data out and you're able to get to that story, it's really, I find it really rewarding. It's really when you really start to understand that customer. So looking at this, I wanted to use a personal example of what is an aha moment to me. And one of those is I want to be a photographer. And so I'm not really good at it. In fact, I'm pretty terrible. So but it's when I like to look at photography and use it to inspire me. So I have some examples here. I just wanted to show you aha moments that I found. And these are all from, actually there's a site on the Atlantic that gets to, and it's called, basically it's In Focus, and it's all about photojournalism. But you look at these pictures and just the focus on the look on her face. This is a little girl that in preparation for Diwali, and just be able to capture that moment is really it's a moment in time. A good picture will tell a story. This picture, the running of the bulls. So somewhere in there, I don't know if you can see that on the bottom, there's a bull in the middle of the crowd down there. But just to look at that from a story perspective, everything that's happening in this picture, it really gets to that, and it kind of it's a moment in time that you're able to capture. This is one where it's another example of photography where you change your perspective. So this is an apartment block in Hong Kong. But just by looking up at that, all of those different apartments and how each one's unique, but there's still a cohesive whole as a building. And then you just start to think about all of the different things that are going on in this building, looking up at it and really trying to see, it just in changing how you're able to get the picture, it really changes your perspective. And this last one is my favorite. So I don't know if you're reading the newspapers, Elmo's been causing a little bit of trouble in New York City. So you just look at this picture though, and just the way they caught Elmo looking dejected. And you don't really ever see a dejected looking Elmo. But just if you look at this from a story, he looks so sad. And I thought it really has just captured kind of the moment, the element, and it's really an aha. So as I get into that too, I want to kind of move it into data and how do we get to that aha moment. So I want to talk about Jon Snow. And when you hear Jon Snow, some of you will think Jon Snow, but not that Jon Snow, this Jon Snow. So thank you for the one nerd in the back who laughed and understood what that was about. So, this Jon Snow was a doctor in the 1850s in London. Before there was germ theory, he was studying a cholera outbreak. And the theory at the time was that it was caused by miasma, which was basically bad air. So as he went and looked at this, what he did was started to collect the data, started to map the data. He was really the first person to really use data visualization as a tool. So what he did, and if you look at this map, each of those bars is cholera, where somebody was killed by cholera. So you look at this and start to see he was able to cluster these things. And as he looked at it, if you notice even on the far right, there was a brewery where there was no deaths. And actually those were monks and they drank their own beer. And so they were not getting the cholera. But as he started to focus all of these different pieces and all these deaths and bring that data, he was able to find and cluster them around the pump. And what he was able to find was he was able to get the handle removed from the pump, and ultimately the cholera outbreaks plummeted. So you start to think about an aha moment when it comes to data, and this is, of course, an ultimate one. I mean, we're not dealing with cholera, not all the time anyway. So, but this is one of those things, is that you take a look at this and just imagine how he felt when you start to see the patterns in the data. And some of you have probably done this yourselves, and when you start to see that and you really find something, it really is something that really makes you kind of pops, and it gives you that moment and that feeling that you've really come up with something special. So in our organizations, what are the barriers to getting to aha moments and insights? And one of them, we've been hearing a lot in a lot of the presentations about big data, bringing in all the different things. I think one of the barriers we actually face is too much data. As affiliate marketers, we're looking at specific subsets of data sometimes, but you start looking at all the data that's being collected in the world and in our organizations, and you just, there's lots of stats like this, all of these tweets, 2.7 billion likes and comments daily. And just being able to process that at some point, I think it takes the power out of our hands as affiliate marketers and as marketers, and really, and sometimes you almost feel helpless because you're looking at it as that it almost requires a data scientist. But as you look at it, what's happening is none of this data, or very little of it, is actually being analyzed. It's just collecting, and you probably see this in all of your companies sitting around, and there's so much data you don't even know where to start. So I wanted to present a concept of a way to look at that and a way to really get to insights. A lot of times data is represented as a cube. And this is just one example, customers by products by time. And this is how a typical database might be organized pretty simply. I mean, there's lots of other dimensions, of course. But we try to look at everything. And rather than that, I think it's ultimately looking at focus data. And so when I was an analyst, I always like to start with a smaller subset and really starting to focus on that small subset and being able to look at that and then expanding outward from there. And ultimately was able to get to more of an aha moment and an insight. This is an old model, actually. When I was a computer science major in college, this was presented, and I still use this. But how do you think of data in your organization? So the data, as it starts with, is basically these are events, the who, the what, the when. These are just, they're not organized at all. This is the typical data. But then you start getting into information. Information is when you take data and you start to be able to answer a question. So what were the sales of Discover for my program last month? So you start to see that, and it answers a question, and information's useful. As I mentioned, some programs that pretend to give you insights are basically stopping here. They're giving you an answer. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you need to keep going. And you start to bring in, as you assimilate it, you start to build knowledge. And knowledge is when you're able to start to look at trends. And you're taking information, you're looking at sales, for example, over a time period. You're starting to look at products and looking at that over time. And I think that's only still a certain level. You need to go one more deeper. And that's continuing to peel back and ask those questions and getting to the wisdom or insights. And this is really when you're able to start to understand what's going on. So why are people buying these products? And is it because my product resonates with the Chinese consumer, which I'll give you an example on that one a little bit later. But it's really knowing and understanding where and how that your sales are coming from, as opposed to just presenting it as a data element. The other one I want to talk about, I'm going to use an example of Conversant, but silos, and Anne-Marie will talk about this as well, but organizations often stand in their own way. So we work with a lot of companies. People are organized as online and offline, and there's different budgets, and they're not really synced up. Or they look at it as, we even have people that are still organized around, this is a search customer versus an affiliate customer versus an email customer. And ultimately, those silos need to be broken down in an organization. And it's actually, as Conversant, we really face this ourselves. So we went through a rebranding, as you know. We were only CJ last year. Now we're CJ by Conversant. But you look at this, we had all of these different business units, and each one was really independent. So all the way down to, there might have been a unique HR teams on each one of these. We were hiring people, not really making a lot of sense of what was going on, different branding. If we had marketing at all, it was all done independently, not a lot of in sync. So what we did as we went through the rebranding is really refocused on who are our customers. Our main customers of all those different business units were brands and the consumers that all of you serve. So as we looked at that, what are the problems that you are facing? So all the millions of sites and apps, multiple devices, many ways to buy, and then also consumer privacy. That's one of the things that we're building our business around. So as we did that, we combined the businesses and really broke it out. So ultimately, it's all about the consumer. Conversant is all about this database, being able to bring that into our business units and really use that to drive insights. So across all these different channels, and really break that down and start to present all of those and think of people as consumers as opposed to just marketing channels or just a click. So I had a quote here from our CMO. He starts to think of this, and I thought this was a great quote, but he said, it's natural to think about how's it going to impact me personally or my group, but ultimately it needs to get to thinking about the consumer. Because once you are focused around the consumer, integration happens naturally, and information will really start to flow across the organization. And I think that's really important. I mean, we can't always impact that ourselves in an organization. We might just we are in certain areas, but as you start to have that philosophy in a business and you're able to start to share that information, even if you're not structured correctly at the time, you really have that ability to start to make change happen in a business and really get to those aha moments. So I want to bring Anne-Marie up, is going to talk about a little bit about HSN and how they reorganize their business around the consumer and what are the positive changes they were able to bring. Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So before I get into the details, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I think it's great. I love the hierarchy model that Mike outlined for moving from data, insights, impact, and I'll take you through some examples. But I just want to make sure everyone knew who HSN was, Home Shopping Network. So we are based in St. Petersburg, Florida. We're 37 years old, and we're a $2 billion multi-channel retailer. About 60% of our sales flow through still from the TV, either through the phone, or we have a shop by remote functionality, and then 40% is .com digital, and that's growing almost a percentage point every year. So it's an interesting shift. I'll probably refer in my presentations to a she or her when I refer to our customer, and that's because she's largely a female. Upwards of 85% is female at our company. So with that, we have been on a journey, and it's all about customer centricity. And for our affiliate marketing program, but largely this is about our whole marketing journey, we've been moving from this kind of aggregate all-in approach, really looking at quantity and more from a product perspective. And that has been a huge shift in our affiliate marketing program, but in general too for our marketing, of really looking at it and dissecting more at a granular level at the portfolio level, really looking at quality in addition to the quantity, really important for us. So we're dissecting things, and I'll take you through some examples of that, and really looking at it from a customer point of view. And it's been fascinating. So a little bit first about who is she? Who is our HSN customer? She loves to shop. This is her hobby. She's a professional shopper. I mean, she just loves it. It's a way for her to connect. It fills a void. Many times she's an empty nester or something's changed in her life. The thrill of the hunt of finding something is really important for her. She loves falling in love with a product or the brand or the creator or artist of that brand. She loves the backstory, and she loves that history in the story. She loves to be able to tell that to her friends. It's like finding something unique. And that's really important in how we go to market and drive marketing. She likes something unique, again, because she can say, look what I found. It's unique, right? Well made. It fits her. She's not like ahead of the now in terms of being trendy, but she's very stylish, and she loves a lot of bling. You know, we had on a personality who sells a lot of jewelry with a lot of bling, and she decided to make some boots, and there were all these rhinestones on this boot. And I was watching it on the weekend. I was like, who's ever going to buy those? And they sold out, you know. It was like, so it's just really interesting, getting back to really understanding your consumer. She loves that. And she will get comments, and then she'll tell the story about where she got those boots. So important from a marketing perspective. And the last point, really, really interesting in understanding our customer. When we ask her, we do a lot of qualitative research. How did you find us? Like new customers? Because we want to do more, right, of what's worked. And so we have a lot of data and, you know, where our new customers came from. But qualitatively, we've asked her, And what we found is an interesting pattern is that many times she found us when something changed in her life. There was a transition point. So it could be a sickness of herself, a loved one's, something that caused her to be at home potentially, channel surfing that she normally wouldn't have. It could be in the middle of the night, could be in the middle of the day, and she normally never would have. And she could have checked out online or picked up the phone, but like somehow she stumbled upon us in a very unplanned kind of way, which is a really great insight for us. So I lead all of the consumer marketing, so that's all the traditional digital marketing that many of you probably work on teams to support, including affiliate marketing, but it's also the lifecycle marketing, and that's omni-channel in nature. And what we try to do is build a relationship with customers, even before she's a customer, right? From a prospect perspective, all the way to the end, that if she has interacted and shopped with us, but then has fallen out of the customer file and lapsed, and everything in between. And this is the way we look at it now in trying to really understand the data and the insights by the life cycle stages. So the data is really important in looking at and then gleaning those insights and getting the story behind the insights, really important. So for each of these life cycle stages, we'll look at, okay, for prospects to come and consider HSN as a shopping destination, what are those things that we need to make sure that we're talking about in marketing? And we have to prove relevancy to her. And we know there's different specifics that we make a difference in our marketing when we are prospecting, and we use those. So the whole goal is that we want to acquire her. Once we get her and she's a brand new customer, we have a window of 90 days that we call assimilation, and we try to get her to repeat purchase. And so it's an onboarding. It's trying to get her to understand what we have to offer, what are the value propositions, and introducing her to our brand and what you get with shopping at HSN. The sweet spot, and what we're always trying to do, is get our customers to be in that box. We want her to be a regular participant, keep coming back with frequency, and even passionate that she's advocating on our behalf. That's the sweet spot that all of our marketing is trying to get her in that box. And then if she's lapsed, like I said, we have to give her a reason to come back and buy again. So everything we do, we look at it now with a lens of the life cycle. And it's been quite an evolution. That has not always been the case. In fact, that's really a journey in the last year. If you were talking to me a year ago, it would be very different in how we were structured and how we were viewing things at HSN. So we evolved from being very channel-centric. And if you had asked me how were you structured from an organizational and people perspective, this is not how we would have been structured just over a year ago. We were structured by channel across the company in our marketing efforts. And we completely reorganized at the company centered around the customer. And so it starts with strategy and planning, and then all those life cycles that I just mentioned, as well as some engagement and recognition from a loyalty perspective. And then we have a whole operations and CRM group that provides our feedback loop to say what's working and what's not, how do we iterate, keep doing what's working, stop what's not, and share the learnings, which is so important. Not always easy sometimes because we're all so busy. So this was huge investment in people, but we also invested in technology, and you really have to in order to get your data in order. But we also invested in a campaign management system, and that allows us to send outbound campaigns across all different types of channel: print, mobile, SMS, push notifications, email, direct mail, even putting something in the box when she buys something as a package insert. And then inbound, if she's calling in and coming into the web and all of the mobile properties, we can identify who she is based on her segment. We invested in marketing automation, so we basically re-engineered a lot of the way that we do our marketing processes. And then the crux of today's speech really is around the data and analytics. And so we used to have what Mike had shown as, I love that photo, I'm going to use it in some of my presentations at work, with like the stovepipe kind of silo data. That's what we had before. We had many more of those. We did a lot of work over the last year, year and a half, and now we have a 360-degree view of the customer, and that required a unique identifier, so we can associate and attribute everything that she has, her relationship across the different brands that we carry. And we have got thousands of them, the different kind of categories. We sell jewelry, we sell crafting, we sell electronics, coins, you name it. Like, we sell everything at HSN. And we want to know kind of what's she buying, when, how did she buy it. We know demographic, behavioral type information, response history, contact history. Is she opening emails? Is she not? What is she kind of engaging with? Is she liking us on Facebook? So we have all of that aggregated, which is really important. And we have invested in predictive analytics and models so we can get smarter, and these models kind of learn and help us to get smarter. So people, process, and technology is what we invested in. In terms of what I see as some of the key points that allowed us to be more effective marketers, and specifically as it relates to affiliate marketing, has a lot to do with collaboration. Because even if you have the data all together, if you're not really collaborating and tapping into resources across the company that bring lots of different skill sets to the table, you probably won't seize the benefit of all those investments in the data. We knew that we had to break through some preconceived notions about affiliate marketing at HSN. So there was this conventional wisdom, I would say, at our company. If you asked me a year ago that affiliate marketing was really about discounts. And that was not seen in a favorable light, I would say, by many of my counterparts in the finance and the merchandising and the CRM divisions. And I need to influence them because we're all like fighting for resources, right? And doing the right thing. I see a lot of nods, right? I think that's typical for affiliate marketing. And so I think understanding the insights and the data is really key. So we had to first start by educating folks about what is affiliate marketing. And a lot of people thought they knew, and they didn't. And I have Kelly Ground sitting here. She's my manager and an expert in affiliate marketing in the front row. So you can speak to her after and find her over drinks if you want and some of how we did this, but it was really critical. She even educated me on parts of it too. And it's so important to understand how it works and how the consumer is bopping around and how that affiliate channel comes to play in that marketing mix. So critical. And then not only did we educate others, but then they educated us. So Kelly and I were literally high-fiving at one point that when we gained knowledge of, okay, once we educated these folks in CRM, finance, and merchandising about how it works, we then said, can you help us get educated about who are our affiliate customers? Who is she? We invested in all of this data and analytics and segmentation, yet we didn't even know how that applied to the data. So we actually had them pull the data and do the analysis, and we were all kind of like jaw drops, like, wow, this is so exciting. And so we have a whole segmentation schema, and there were 3 primary segments of customers who were using the affiliate channel at HSN, and one of them was a raving fan. And that's a really important segment for us. We want more of those. You can tell, like, we put labels on our segments, but you can pretty much figure out what it is. It's a very good thing. And we then work to really better understand what does a raving fan really need to be satisfied? What are all those attributes of her? Both kind of attitudinally as well as behaviorally at HSN. And one of the things is she loves variety. And it's almost like she's hunting for a treasure. And it's a game for her. And that's really important psychologically for her. And so we saw the affiliate channel as a perfect way to kind of plant little treasures around and really diversify our strategy as it regards our offers and promotions and kind of marketing tactics. So that was really key. It used to be, again, from to, one size kind of mass fits all, if you will, in terms of our approach, and now we're actually tailoring based on what we know, and we've dissected this even at the publisher level, so we can see how to move the levers. So we really leverage that data to better understand and get smarter, and really, like I said, get granular down to the publisher level. We actually have full P&Ls now, so that we have insights, we know how to pull levers. If we need top-line sales, bottom line, we know what each publisher is giving us, and in aggregate, the whole affiliate marketing. And we know from a customer life cycle what it gives us as well. So if we need more retained customers who repeat so many times during a month, we now know how we can go and turn the faucet on over here, maybe turn it off over here. If we need top-line sales, we can work with targeted publishers on a key promotion or a product kind of value proposition because we need to drive units. And this is the nature of business. Sometimes you gotta figure out how to juggle all these balls, right? Sometimes we need to grow a certain piece of the customer file, and maybe that's a high frequency in a certain month, like in our birthday month, we have an anniversary month, and we have certain metrics that are based on a frequency rate of our core best customers coming back so many times. So we can maybe go and target, knowing now what each publisher gives us from a data and insights perspective, which ones to go after. So I would say at the end, we basically evolved such that now my counterparts who were kind of a little suspicious before and kind of just always questioning, they've now actively embraced the affiliate channel, and we can collaborate together on more effective promotional strategies and marketing strategies, and I think it's been a great evolution. So I'll hand it back over to Mike, who's going to continue on his.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I think Anne-Marie and Kelly talked about, she mentioned they high-fived each other at one time because they were looking at this. But when they were talking about their data story, you could hear their excitement. And that's what I mean, whether high-five, you get to that moment and you just realize you found something. So what does that mean to all of us? I mean, we talked a little bit about reorganizing the business. All of us don't have that power, though. But if we go back to the idea of the focus data, there are some things we do, and I have an example here of one that came up in one of the programs that we manage, on where looking at like a little small piece of data, and from that, how we were able to evolve that and really grow and change the program. So we work with a retailer, online only. They are a multi-channel retailer, but they can't ship internationally. So they had all kinds of publishers calling them up, asking to join the program. And in a lot of programs, it would just stop here. These people would be rejected. You would never have this. So you have your market that's the United States. Meanwhile, there's all these publishers who are interested in your program that you're not bringing in. So what we did, though, was drill down in something as simple as IP addresses. So we started looking at where are all the clicks coming from. And so looking at the clicks, we were able to find a large proportion coming from overseas. When we compared that to sales, of course, those didn't match up. And so what we were able to do, though, was look at the shipping addresses on the advertiser side. They were able to go back, and we were able to look at where known dropshippers were. And so we were able to match up the addresses to where they were going. Certain addresses were getting large volumes of products. So in looking at that, we were able to find out all of that and talk to the dropshipper. All of these products were going to China. So people were coming in, ordering them, having them shipped to a dropshipper who would then have them shipped to China, which was really fascinating. So as we went and looked at that, we ultimately then were able to open the program up to overseas partners. So looking at it from, they were able to generate $1 million in sales in China over the last year, partnering with Chinese affiliates. So they actually opened the program up, and with some additional monitoring in place, really now we're starting to use this to test overseas and potentially look at, do they want to develop their own shipping service, and ultimately opening up new markets. So it's one of those great success stories in affiliate where we're working with the affiliate manager at this company, able to look and start to influence and really impact their strategies. So I really like that one as an idea of looking at the small data. And ultimately, from a CJ perspective, we are looking at some new tools as well based on this. But ultimately, what you're going to be able to do is look at buyer publishers and really drill down and start to explore the traffic. Also, from the publisher perspective, we are passing the tools over to them as well so they can monitor their traffic and come to advertisers with potentially with additional solutions to see what's happening on their side as well. So we believe that, yes, there's other ways to go into global commerce, but there's simpler ways too that you can follow to start to change your company's strategy potentially. So looking at the data hierarchy model, just to bring that all back full circle, we followed the question. So who, what, when, where? We had these clicks coming from overseas. We found out they're coming from China. Being able to look at that and turn that into knowledge, start tracking that, looking at trend data, looking at shipping addresses, starting to figure out and try to identify patterns and really know and understand what's going on. And then we were able to start to explore. So they now have launched a research project to start to look at the Chinese consumer. How do they want to market to the Chinese consumer, and starting to use the affiliate program potentially as a distribution source. So you keep asking those questions and keep going and moving forward, and ultimately you get to that moment where you're able to change the company's strategy as an affiliate manager, which I thought was really a great story. The last thing I wanted to present was I was asked to, when I was telling all the stories before, I was said, put in your own photography. So little thing here. So this was actually, I visited a ventriloquist museum. It was by appointment only outside of Cincinnati. So I just thought it was like, you look at this, and it was actually pretty normal, I mean, surprisingly, until at one point the curator started talking baby talk to one of the dummies. So it was, but as you looked at this, again, from a photography perspective, you see all these eyes staring at you, but you don't really capture the impact with this. So my aha moment in preparing this presentation was to leave you with something that you would remember. So I want you to remember this, not so you don't sleep tonight, but when you think of this picture, next time you're looking at data and you're trying to figure out that aha moment, but it was actually kind of fascinating, as you went in and got really close, each of the dummies had like their own personality. I mean, some of them did look like they were the kind that would come up and kill you, like in the Twilight Zone, but it was also just fascinating as you look at this. So that was my aha moment, was to leave you with that, and so that you start to think of this picture the next time you're looking at data, to remember the model and how to get in there and to really drill down and get to your aha moment as well. So thank you very much.